Saturday 1st of January 2022, and in this New Year's Day special, we are discussing Blackpool just getting over the line against Hull City, thanks to some injury time heroics from Dan Grimshaw to give us a 100% record in 2022. I'm John Aspinall, this is the Seaside's podcast, Match Reaction Show, Blackpool 1, Hull City, a big fat 0.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to the Seasiders podcast on the first day of 2022. And it's great to be celebrating 3 points and 100% record, as I said in the introduction. Mitch there, I'm loving the latest of your series of Gaz virtual backgrounds there.
I work out where he is.
Yeah, it's hard to work out.
Yeah, there he is. There's the man.
With a thunder bastard of a penalty.
Wasn't it just?
I can't believe he stayed off the patrons podcast group after he scored. I was expecting him there going, Madine!
I did try and do the Madine chant in the south on my own, but nobody joined in. But I didn't care.
I heard a chant from the south today, which was pretty much unique. The one started in the court, the Seasiders chant, if I remember rightly, which you don't normally hear from the north. Every credit.
Joe, you didn't hear anything from the north today because you unfortunately weren't at the game, but I believe a close member of your family was and was goading you at attendance at the stadium.
Yeah, unfortunately, when we live not in Blackpool, there was no trains with it being January the 1st, so had to make do with watching it. Definitely not on IPTV. 100% not IPTV whatsoever. So I've sat down and watching the game, and I get a text, and it's from inside the offices of Bloomfield Road, out looking onto the pitch, and it's from my mum. And I'm like, what the bloody hell are you doing there? She's like, oh, I was supposed to be working from home, but I kept getting distracted by Netflix. So I decided to go to the offices and work. They're a bit bloody noisy, aren't they? I told him, should have gone to Deepdale then if you wanted quiet. So yeah, my mum were there,
So,
and I weren't.
At least there was an Atherton present. Anyway.
There was, yeah.
Sam was taking pics today as well, Tim, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He's the cod heads are off again. So he's done it the last 2 games, actually. In fact, he got quite a good picture of me and a couple of lads I stand with. You've seen that, have you?
Right, yeah, it's good.
Was that after the
looking a bit saggy.
You're looking very serious in that picture, Tim.
Fuck, it was serious. We're losing 2-1, I think, at the time.
Had Mitchell just shanked that clearance as he took that picture?
I would say pensive was the look.
Pensive is a good word.
I don't know if it was pensive and anger at the same time and concentration.
I think it was a bit earlier than the 2-1. I think we were 1-0 down at the time, if I remember rightly, but looking at when it was. But yeah, it's good to have your son in the photography area, able to take shots of you. It's all right. I just said next time, let us know. We can just like touch up our eyebrows and whatever, so we look a little bit more human.
At least you weren't picking your nose.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
If I'd have been Sam, I'd have been waiting for you to pick your nose and then taking the photo.
Or yawning.
Or on your phone.
Okay, touche. Right, everybody, welcome in the comments. Thanks for joining us. Hi, David. Hi, Craig. Hi, Josh. Josh, not been on for a while. 3 points. That's all that matters. That's correct. Welcome, Phil. Welcome, David at Grimshaw, England's number 1. Hard to argue. Steve Hutchin. Steve's got COVID. Unlucky, Steve. Hope you're feeling better soon.
Big fat
big fat boot. And a lot of big fat 0. Welcome, Ben, and welcome, Mick. Yeah, Mick's not been here for a while. Happy New Year to you too, Mick. Thanks for joining us. Right, first match reaction show of 2022. And Blackpool lined up against Hull City at Bloomfield Road today. And this was the lineup, as we bring up on the screen, was as follows: Dan Grimshaw, Sterling, Ekpateta, Keogh, Husband, Wintle, Dougal, Anderson, Bowler, Lavery, and Madine. Joe, let's come to you first. The obvious one that's popping out to me was Ryan Wintle, but it was a lot more of an attacking lineup, and I was quite happy with it. How were you when you saw that graphic pop up on your screen?
Happy with 4-4-2. I think with the players we didn't have available, i.e. Jordan Gabriel, I think he's 2 games because he got another suspension under his belt before the second yellow card. So I think he had a 2-game ban. So apart from that, I think that's as strong a team as we could possibly play at the minute. 4-4-2 worked a treat up at Huddersfield. Attacking intent, which, no disrespect to Hull City, even though they've put in a few decent performances recently, you've got to be beating teams like Hull at home if you want to stay in this division. And I thought we set our stall out at the beginning with that formation and that's team selection. We're going to go for the game.
Tim, come to you next. I know you and I were both quite critical of the starting lineup for the previous game at home to Middlesbrough, quite negative. And I think he's obviously listened to the Seasiders podcast criticism and acted as he always does.
He must be doing it. There's too many coincidences otherwise, isn't there? I think what we, and it was a great pod, by the way. I listened to it on my bike yesterday when I was out. I thought he did a great job on the double header. What we can't do is play 3 at the back with 2 wing backs when we haven't got 2 wing backs, and that's the long and the short of it, isn't it? So my immediate reaction today was great to see that we're going back to a flat back 4. Because Sterling, neither Sterling nor Husband, who I think is having a bit of an off time at the moment, have got that ability to get forward in the way that Garbutt and Gabriel would do if they were in that system. Which I think it worked brilliant with those 2, but not with the 2 that we've got. So yeah, I was glad to see that. I was extremely pleased to see Wintle. I had it in my head that his loan spell had ended yesterday, and I didn't expect him to be playing. So it was a great fillip to see that he was in the side. And I think overall, looked at the team, perhaps a little bit harsh on Yates, maybe, but he's got to circulate the 3 forwards. He's got to think in order to keep them as fresh as they can. So, overall, I was very, very pleased. And like I think Joe said, I think it was the best team that we could put out in the circumstances. My concern was that if we lost this one, they are, as most teams have got games in hand on us, and they would only have been, I think, 4 points behind us with 2 games in hand, and Hull have been sort of right down there at the bottom most of the season. So I was slightly concerned that we might get sucked into, maybe not get relegated, but sucked into that area where you actually are worried a bit about it. So it was a very, very important game today. I mean, whether you call it a 6-pointer or not is up to the individual, but I think most certainly it was, you don't have to see the stats. And I think Joe said they were playing quite well. I think they've got 11 points out of the last 6 games as against our 3. So on recent performances, they've not played much over Christmas, but the form was very much with them.
Mitch, over to you then. Jimmy Husband playing any more custom role at left back? I know you've been banging the drum for him this season. He's more than competent in that role, isn't he, as a left back? And good to see him playing in his natural position. And any other thoughts you have when you saw the team sheet come up?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I would agree with a few comments that Yates hadn't really done much wrong to be dropped. And I think that sums it up. And I think that the 2 of them are interchangeable. And sort of the way they play as the dynamo, if you like, of the attack, that they're the energy, and Madine is more of the pivot. Then I suppose swapping them to make sure the fresh makes sense. I was glad that Bowler was back in from the start, because I think it's always a sign that we're a sign of intent to play a player like Bowler at home. And the back 4 was probably exactly what I would pick with the players available. And yeah, I mean, I have been banging for Jimmy at left back, and he didn't have the greatest game in the world today. But to be fair, I don't remember him doing anything particularly incompetent. He just I think struggles a little bit with getting forward. So yeah, I was really happy with it. It's pretty much. I personally would have picked Yates, but other than that, I'm not that fussed.
So just before the game, it's always quite an emotional moment, isn't it, when we say goodbye to all the Seasiders that we've lost in 2021. It's always kind of a bittersweet game, isn't it, when you see those names rolling up and down the team sheet.
There's a lot of them as well, which I don't know whether any are COVID related or whatever, but the list seemed to be extraordinarily long, didn't it? And it's quite poignant, I think, when you come to the New Year's Day and you see that list come down, and I don't personally know anybody who's passed away this year, but for those who have, I think it's a nice little tribute, and I think if I was in a similar position, I'd be, you'd be choking up at that, wouldn't you?
Okay, on with the game. So, Joe, let's come to you first. How do you think Blackpool started the game? First 10 minutes, I think it was a bit 50-50, but Dan Grimshaw's made an absolute worldie of a save, hasn't he, to atone for an error he's actually caused with a poor clearance.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought the first 10 minutes we started off fairly brightly without really creating any clear-cut chances. It was something that was kind of a reoccurring theme of the game. We got into very good positions. There was a nice little pass in, but when we seemed to get to the edge of that 18-yard area, the decision-making leaves a lot to be desired. But getting back to that Grimshaw save, it was probably, in retrospect, the only thing that he did wrong in the entire game was fluffing a clearance that went straight to one of their players. But every credit to him. He made a good initial save, and the follow-up save, which got a wicked deflection as well. It looked like it was going to spin over him. He managed to claw his hand up to it and made a really good stop. I've said before, I said pre-season that I wasn't keen on him, and he really is making me eat my words. He's been fantastic when Maxwell got his initial injury, and he's come back in, and for me, he's claimed the number one shirt, especially after today.
Anyone else got any thoughts on the opening phase of the game, Tim?
I think Grimshaw obviously has to take some responsibility for that poor clearance, but I think the way that we play, we're on the edge, aren't we? In that, if teams start watching what we do when we're clearing our back lines, about that ball into Dougal and then out wide or whatever, then somebody's going to intercept at some point. And I think we do put a lot of onus on the goalkeepers to actually make sure that they never fluff a clearance. And the reality is that none of them are perfect, and they're going to do it, and the number of times that we see these balls come back, and the amount of time that be it Maxwell or Grimshaw actually have to clear the ball and clear it well is very, very limited. So I think it's inevitable that we're going to see something like we saw today. If it's not once a game, then once every 2 or 3 games, and it's it's a weakness in the system. Now, obviously, there's positives in that you keep possession at the back a lot better, and you've got a goalkeeper who's effective playing sweeper for you. But I think we've got to realise that it's not infallible, and and whilst we can criticise Grimshaw, I think it's a byproduct of the system for me.
Mitch, it's a decent shout from Tim, because one thing that's starting to irk me a bit with this team is we're overplaying at the back at times. When there was particularly one incident in the second half when I think I was shouting at husband. I said, just go along, and the playing the ball between the back four. I think we got caught and we got away with it. I think, as Tim's just said, the goalies are receiving far more passes than they would in this kind of system than they would be in a more direct team, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of debate on the patrons chat as well about his kicking, and I think I think we've got used to the fact that Maxwell is exceptionally good with his feet. I think actually from a dead ball or from a standing start, I think Grimshaw's kicking is very good, but I think Maxwell's sort of play live in the game is excellent. And I certainly don't think Grimshaw is a poor kicker. I think he's probably a bit more average than Maxwell when the ball is live and the ball is moving. It's funny because I've been reading. For want of anything else to read, I've been reading a book about Klopp and Dortmund and stuff. And it was when he first went into Dortmund, he got a lot of stick for overplaying at the back. And he was very much like, no, we carry on doing it. We carry on doing it. We play at the back. And he spoke about sort of how you will lose goals, but if you keep playing to your principles, then your team will know what to do. Your team will develop a style and establish a style. And as you bring in better players, they will fit within a style and so on. And it was quite interesting listening to sort of Klopp talking about that. What's the word? Embedding a philosophy, and it not being just about now. It's about you create the way your team plays, because then when you bring a player in, they fit into the way that team plays, and then they're better and they're better. And I think I think that is something that Critchley is trying to do, but I would agree that it gives me kittens, because sometimes I can't really see the advantage of it. It's when they sort of go square across the back and then they go all the way back to the player who already had it. And I think, well, I don't really see how you've shifted the other team round. Again, I'm sure if Sean was on, he'd give me an explanation of how and why it works.
But the most obvious one was with Dujon in the first half, and he receives the ball, and he must have had 20 yards in front of him. But rather than step into that 20-yard space, which I can't get my head around it now, he turns around and sends it back to Grimshaw again. I'm thinking, I don't think, to be fair, I don't think Gabriel had done that. I think Gabriel would have attacked the space. But I can't see what, and there must be a theory behind it, mustn't there? But when you've got 20 yards in front of you, surely you go and fill that gap for me. And I think to be fair, Sterling does get a slight bloody nose when he goes across the halfway line, doesn't he? So
it's very one-footed as well. I don't know if you've noticed that about Sterling. Heavily one-footed.
Yeah. But he was on his right foot, and he's got the space to go into. Yet he turns back and goes back to Grimshaw, and for me, that's Grimshaw's more likely in that scenario to do something that could put us under pressure than Sterling would, pushing into the space and then looking for a pass or whatever he wants to do from there. So it does get a bit frustrating sometimes, but it's clearly something we're going to do in this. Ball into the centre back, into the centre midfield with the back to the opposition goal, and then passing out wide is something they must do. Because it clearly it's something that's embedded in their brains. I think that they've got to do that.
I wonder if it's not just a case of. Beginning of the year, we pressed quite hard in games, and in some games we ran out of steam later in the game. Sort of, we'd sort of press for a half and then not be able to maintain it. And I wonder if it's almost an attempt to pace themselves through the game. So, we play quite intense football, and then we have a little breather for 45 seconds, pass it along the back line, knock it around a little bit, and then go again. I don't know if that's part of it.
Possibly.
You're on mute, John.
The dog was barking, hence the mute. As I was trying to say, I think the game ebbed and flowed in the first half hour. I think either team could have scored, but luckily it's come our way, Joe, courtesy of amazing run from Josh Bowler. Your thoughts on the penalty down the other end from me? So let's come to you first. Was it a pen?
Well, obviously, watching it, I shouted pen because one of my players has gone down in the area. It's just like automatic reflex, isn't it, when you're a football fan? But yeah, at first I thought it was a penalty. Then they showed a replay of it, and from one angle it looked like he got the ball, And then from another angle, it looked like he got the player, then the ball. So I think either way, it's a tricky one for the ref because he's not got the benefit of an instant replay and he's got to make a decision there on the spot. Getting back to what you were saying, I know it's slightly unrelated, but going on about fullbacks and the defenders and passing it about at the back, I know that Josh Bowler's come under a little bit of criticism before the last few games where he kind of runs into blind alleys, he doesn't look up when he's crossing the ball, etc. I kind of accept it from him now because I'd rather have a player like Josh Bowler that's brave enough to have a go and go forward and take players on. Because I think in them games where we've struggled, we just seem to go a bit conservative and revert to passing it around the back and
he gives us something unexpected, Joe, doesn't it? He gives us he can create something from nothing, which no other player on that pitch can do.
Yeah,
I think also his decision making has improved immeasurably over these Christmas games, starting with Huddersfield and his ball through to Jerry. And I just think he's obviously clearly been watching the pod. He's listened to all the criticism. He's taken it on board. He's gone away. He's analysed it, and he's come back a better player. But in all seriousness, I think his decision making has improved immeasurably from when we were criticising him. I think when we did criticise him, it was justified.
Well, if you look at just riffing on what Joe said there, if you look at who did we play the 5-3-2? Who did we play last before this? Middlesbrough, of course it was. Yeah, if you look at the Middlesbrough game, we didn't have any what you might call a luxury players on the pitch, and we didn't really have the luxury of being able to attack very well at all, and that's problematic. And you can call Bowler a luxury player, but take him out of the team, and we really do lack the impetus going forward, and that's not really a luxury when you consider that you've got to, you have to attack to win games. So I would totally agree with what Joe said there.
Also, can you imagine if you're playing left back for the opposition, you're going to be, every time that ball comes out to bowl, you're thinking, oh my God, he's going to make a complete prat of me again. And that's what he does. And I think the goal, the penalty decision was a classic example. That is the bowler at his best, where he's not fanning around and losing the ball. He's just gone into the dangerous area, and he's gone in there with intent. If I was that defender, I would be gutted that was given as a penalty. And
Why?
Why? Because I've got for me, I've got my foot in the right area, and I've effectively cleared it, and I've blocked effectively his run. But as a Blackpool fan, I was quite pleased to see that it was given. The ref, to be fair to him, was right on the spot and went straight, pointing at the penalty spot. He didn't prevaricate at all. He was straight in there. However,
first of the new year,
I do
prevaricate.
But I do think, as a defender, you've got to be able to challenge. And for me, I think it was a fairly soft pen.
Well, some people on the chat saying Craig's saying defo on Tangerine TV, and then Josh underneath it is saying never a pen. Mitch, let's come to you. You probably
depends whether you're a defender or an attacker, doesn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't one where I immediately jumped up and screamed pen. It was one where I went, "Oh, he's given a penalty, right? Great." It didn't feel like it was nailed on, but then it didn't feel like it was never a penalty either. To me, I mean, I've not watched it back yet, but to me, it looked, the way you're talking about it seemed to be there was only one player involved. To me, I remember he sort of cut through the middle of two players. He kind of pushed it through and then went through the middle of two players, and it looked, in my possibly warped memory, that he got sandwiched by two players and then kind of fell through the middle of them.
If you watch it again, what actually happens? It comes through, and a player comes across to challenge him, but the foot of the player is the other side of Josh's foot to the ball, if that makes sense. So as they meet, his foot's hit Josh's foot, and the ball's there, and the ball then gets cleared. And the refs give the penalty because effectively his foot touches Josh's ankle before it touches the ball. I can see why he's giving it. All I'm saying is, as a defender in those split decisions, it wasn't a horrendous foul by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it's very, very, it's slight margins, isn't it? I can 100% see why he's giving it, but I agree with what having played in that position, I would be extremely pissed off if that was a penalty given against me for that.
Yeah, that comment pretty much nails it for me. I think we both watched it on the TV, and he did kind of go through the player and then get the ball, but it's very, very marginal. I don't know if you saw the Arsenal-Man City game earlier on today. It was a bit like the challenge that the City keeper, Edison, made, where he just about got the player first and then the ball. But because it's Man City, they didn't have a penalty against them, of course. But hey, speaking of penalties, cometh the hour.
Cometh the man, and there's only one man who can eulogise about this. Mr. Mitch, away you go.
Well, I mean, it's never in doubt, was it? Because it's he picked the ball up, cool as you like, hands on hips, deep breath, lumbered in and thwack straight up the middle. Net made a beautiful sound. I'm saying the net made a beautiful sound. I didn't hear it because I was jumping up and down shouting it's Madine. But I watched back the little video that somebody, I think Andy had posted it on the patrons chat, the little pitch side video.
It's a great video.
It's a great video. Yeah, I mean we should get the sound the ball makes as it hits the net sampled and then create some kind of Ibiza dance floor track to that. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's. I am confident with him taking the penalty because I think that he's, once out of every 2 times he's going to absolutely put everything he's got behind it, and I think the keeper knows that, and then he'll mix that up with just dribbling it in the corner every now and again. And he looked calm as you like. He looked like he was going to nip off for a fag while they were having the row about whether it was a penalty or not. He was just not bothered, just like he was going to nip down to the corner flag and roll himself a fag, and just perfectly happy. So yeah, it was brilliant.
And here it is.
10p in the meter in the sunbed.
Should we play it? No, it's gone off. Hang on. There we go.
Here we go. Wait for the net.
Yeah, it's not played. Hang on. Typical. It's not worked. Oh well.
Can I just say generally, while John sorts his tech issues out, that I thought Madine's performance in the first half is arguably the best I've seen him play in a Blackpool shirt. I won't say quite replicated in the second, but in the first half, I thought he was exceptional, and he looked like a real leader on the pitch as well. He seemed to be directing other people as to where he wanted them to be and what he wanted them to do. And I thought he gave a consummate performance in the first half, to be fair, and showing his experience, and also, to be fair, a lot of guile, a lot of skill as well. I've got to say.
Well, I think the thing is, and I'm not saying this for the sake of hyperbole, but I think the thing is today, and I would totally agree with you, faded second half. For that first half, you could actually see that a player that played like that every week, played like that all the time, you could understand why that player would once have been worth £6 million to a football club, because some of his football was sensational. I mean, there was the over-the-shoulder flick, I think, that set Bowler away. There was that little lofted chip for Keshi to run onto. There was some proper just vision and skill in the corner, and like you say, sort of organising the attack. And yeah, players like Lavery and Bowler with so little experience, and a player like Madine who is intelligent, and I think he's really enjoying that role. I think he just looks like he's just buzzing to be in that team at the moment.
He won, I'd say, a good 90%. I'd love to see some stats of duels won. He won pretty much every single duel I saw him go for. But anyway, I have got the video here. So oh, that noise when the boot hits the ball. Let's watch it again. Listen for the thud.
It's that like the bass drum of the boot and then the hi hat of the neck just afterwards. That's what can be sampled as the
The question is he now number one penalty taker, or does Jerry keep the gig?
I think they're both equally good, aren't they, Tim? You feel confident with both of them stepping up?
I think I feel more confident with Jerry, I think, than Madine. But but he's winning me around a little bit with his pens. I think
I've only
two or
seen
three now, isn't it? And he's scored them all. So
Jerry's missed one in the shootout against West Brom in the cup, but I think that's the only one he's missed.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for the rest of the first half, then one thing I did want to discuss, which was apparent in the first half, was Keshi Anderson being, what's that word, Tim? Is it profligate, where you miss a lot? What's that? Do you know that word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Profligate.
Profligate. No, I'm
profligate. You're right.
Got me going
in front of goal.
Wasteful. Let's keep it simple. Wasteful.
We need Connor. I'm sure it's a Bible story, isn't it? It's something like the profligate son, where his dad gives him a load of stuff and he just goes and wastes it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So I've got my own Timism in there. But Keshi did not have his shooting boots on today and had a lot of chances. It's just weird.
I thought he played really, really well until he had to make the last decision that was, if that makes sense. So whether it's to shoot or whether it's to pass, and then he seems to have aberration after aberration after aberration, and he just made the wrong decision every single time, and he went on all through the game. But his overall contribution was great until it was that last decision. And
whatever Kechi's got, I think that's going around the squad like COVID, to be honest, because that seemed to be the team's entire problem today. I thought we played very, very well. There was some, especially second half, there was some sections of the game where the movement and the passing was absolutely brilliant. But then it got to the 18-yard area again.
Yeah, it's that last ball every time, wasn't it?
Second half, then. Put my phone back in. I don't know. It was a funny one again, wasn't it? We were just getting in good positions, but that final ball was again lacking. Just the cutbacks, not finding the men, and the final decision making. What can we put that down to?
Too much Christmas pud. I don't know.
I'd say tiredness from one of the only teams in the bloody country that's actually playing games.
But the only championship game this afternoon, the only one.
I think
Bournemouth have sacked off their game tomorrow against Peterborough, haven't they?
Have they? All right, I didn't know.
They should have a big enough squad to cope, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they played the other day, didn't they? Was it about the 28th or something? But the league said to Middlesbrough, get the game on, and they gave all the usual stuff that they give out, and then next minute you wake up this morning, the game's off, and it's like, at what point do you just say to teams, you're going to have to live with, like the rest of it? Every business has got to live with COVID, and football has to live with COVID, and it's got to live by COVID. They've probably got 60 players signed on Middlesbrough. How the freaking hell can they justify getting a game off? It's unbelievable.
They were moaning about it as well, weren't they, Middlesbrough?
But they were moaning about us because they thought we were going to pull the COVID
having a go at us
card.
before they even called it off.
I know. And then the first thing they're doing now, and there's some people on Twitter, fans on Twitter say, well, we've played twice, we could do with the break. Well, I'm not funny. It's not about that. And I think Mitch, your point resonated with me the other night when I was listening to it yesterday, was that you're not interested in COVID. If you've got 11 players, play the game of football. It doesn't matter who you've got, play. It's not about trying to play tactical cards to, like as who was it? It was meant to play Blackburn, and they didn't fancy it, did they? It was that the other day. Hull, yeah, it's Hull. I think they only had one COVID case
before kickoff.
They had one COVID case, as I understand it, and the manager had it, and they got the game called off. Well, how can that be allowed to happen? And they didn't want to play the team who's won 7 on the trot. And Blackburn, I think, have gone all the way through Christmas without playing a game, haven't they? And
I put on TalkSport a couple of days ago, and they're having a lengthy discussion about games that hadn't been played. And I saw this is a low point for football punditry and a low point for sort of the analysis of football when we're now analysing games that haven't been played and the tactical advantages achieved by not playing games. And it's ridiculous. But I wanted to just go. I mean, I agree with what Joe said. Yeah, we probably are tied, but I think also we've just had 2 back-to-back results where we've really played pretty well and then lost the games. And I think there was an element of pressure where in that second half, it was clear that had we got that second goal, that game was in the bag. I mean, Hull produced nothing until injury time, pretty much. And I think there was a degree of pressure. They were just desperate to finish it off. You know, they did everything right and then almost weren't quite relaxed enough. You know, they tried to play the perfect ball, or they tried, you know, somebody try and put the foot through it and it just, sort of try and tee it up perfectly and just linger on it a bit long. And I think that happens when you're under pressure for the win, because you're much more conscious of what you're doing when you're under pressure than when you're relaxed and when you're in the groove. And it just looked like we were almost wanting that second goal a little bit too much.
Into the second half then, as I said, we weren't creating any clear-cut chances, but there was one that's just popped into my head now, and that was Gary Goals with that cross from Sterling on the right-hand side. Joe, you're picking up your mic as if you're out to speak about that. That's the sort of chance you expect Big Gaz to put away. Leapt like a salmon, wrapped his head, his neck's there, powers it wide.
Yeah, all the cameras kind of focused on were an annoyed Madine, and then some bloody fan that had caught the ball that wouldn't give it back to the keeper. Even the fans were trying to waste time at that point. But no, I mean, I think Mitch put it best that we were trying that a little bit too hard. Maybe he's tried to get a bit too much power into his head and then direction. Do you know what I mean? Because it went.
Kevin Keegan that was it in Spain, Tim? That Kevin Keegan header.
Yeah, 1982 against Spain when it was 0-0. They didn't have knockout, did they? They had a group of 3, and we had to win the game, didn't we, by 2 clear goals? And him and Brooking came on.
He tried to overcook the header, didn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
Joe,
I mean,
sorry,
go on. I mean, you've got players that are trying their hardest. They're desperate for that result. Today, as I've already repeated myself, we played very well up to the final third. It just wasn't coming off for us. But, well, the performance might have not been up to scratch as far as the last 2 games go. I don't really care. I mean, I said it the last game. I'm sick of playing well and getting nothing. This is a game where maybe we've not been at our best. Oh, something that I've just remembered. I didn't even notice the referee until about the 66th minute where he got something wrong. And then I watched him carefully for the rest of the game. I think this is the first time we've ever had a homer at Bloomfield Road. He seemed to give us everything.
But so, I don't think they weren't overly. I don't recall
them shouting for everything, weren't they? They were
playing. I mean, they went down a lot. I mean, and I think it was quite accommodating of their, them getting shot by the man on the grassy knoll and spending the next 5 minutes on the floor all the time. But I think it's a great point, Joe. I don't recall the referee having really controversial. Probably the penalty is probably the most controversial. Yeah. But even then, you can 100% see why he gave it. But when you compare it with the referee we had against Middlesbrough, for example, it's like chalk and cheese, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm the one at Huddersfield. To be fair, he got a lot wrong for both as well.
Yeah, he talked a lot, that ref, as well. I noticed there was a few moments where it could have got a bit feisty, and he was talking a lot to the players and sort of smiling and joking with them, which is it's nice to see that he Well, I'll tell a very short anecdote. I got in trouble after the last match because my lad came home and went, "Mum, Dad called the ref a
Wasn't the C-bomb, was it? Wasn't the
No,
knacker C-bomb?
it wasn't quite that bad. But I thought, yeah, I've got to remember I've got a 10-year-old sat next to me. I'm not setting a good example here. I'm going to have to try harder. And I thought, right, I'm going to try and keep it a bit cleaner because there's family sit next to me as well. I thought they probably don't appreciate it. And I thought I'll try and be on my best behavior. I didn't have to try with this guy. I thought he was good. And I thought he was one of those refs that he wasn't strutting around doing those stupid sergeant major moves and, blowing his whistle. And then I hate it when you've got a bad ref and they blow the whistle and they do like that hand movement and then they stride backwards for 10 yards and stuff like that. And there was none of that from him. He was interested in the game flowing and he was interested in keeping it moving. So he gets a penalty.
I've thought of one where I actually was shouting at him, and I think quite a few other people were, and that's when he pulled it back for a free kick when Lavery was clean.
I think
through
that
on
was
goal.
the moment that I was on about on the 66th minute. I think that's when I noticed him. But this isn't me turning over.
And he thought, "What the hell? Why has he not played? Why has he not continued with that?"
This isn't going to be a new thing. I'm not going to be nice to referees all year. I'm just going to, when they deserve it, I will give them credit.
Even Eddie on the way to the ground today said to me, "Daddy, these referees are rubbish at this ground, aren't they?" That's what he said. So even he remembers.
I got so angry with the last one, I called him a fucking fuck because I couldn't think of anything more eloquent to say. It just didn't come out right at all. And I thought, that's maybe not what I want to be modelling.
I think I called like 6.5 foot number 6 when he went down like he'd been shot by a sniper holding his nose. I think I called him a girl or a twat. And I realised you can't even call people a girl anymore, can you?
No.
Oh, get up, you girl.
Well, he might be a girl, John. We don't know in these modern times, do we?
I feel bad for telling Tom Lees to get up, you absolute tart, when he was genuinely concussed. So if you're watching, Mr. Lees, I do apologise and I hope you're on the mend.
That discriminates against prostitutes, I hasten to add, Joe. That you need to wash your mouth out with soap.
Don't want another litigation case, do we, Tim?
Well, enough of them.
Yep. Tom Eaves came on 83 minutes. Was anyone else worried? Because I was.
Yeah, he's the pound shop Andy Carroll, and I'm terrified of him.
He's a big old boy, isn't he? He's a big unit.
Has a habit of scoring against us as well.
Well, yeah. That's why I was worried. Did he play for, was it Gilliam?
Yeah, he was superb. It was the first season post-boycott. They sort of a few months we had under McPhillips, and they beat us 3-0, I think it was, at home, and he was absolutely blinding. I can't remember who would have been at the back. I think it had been Hennigan and, I don't know, some other sort of big lump we had, and he just dominated them. And they were big lads we had at the back, and he just pushed them over. He was skillful. He was everything that we didn't have at the time. And I'm surprised actually he hasn't done that well for Hull. I've looked at his record.
He scored against us though, didn't he? He scored against us.
Yeah, did he score in the game that we did?
We pissed on them. Yeah, we absolutely destroyed them, and he just came on. Do you remember? 10 minutes to go.
Yeah.
It was Carey's and Dale's first proper run-outs, wasn't it? If you remember rightly, and they were exceptional. We were exceptional. Ended up not winning the game.
So this is the first time we've played a team twice, then, actually, isn't it?
Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough, Middlesbrough.
Okay, maybe not then. Oh yeah,
it's the third first time, John.
That's very good. But a moment of controversy. 1 minute from the end, 89 minutes. Callum Connolly and Daniel Gretton replacing Josh Bowler and Keshi Anderson. And I'm not just saying this. I said to the guy next to me, "Do I not like this?"
You weren't the only one.
I think
I tweeted as it happened, no, all capitals, no.
Well, it's something Tim said ages ago on one of the pods, which was about him when he first came about him making too many subs at once. And I thought one of those changes would have been fine, but making both and shifting the shape was just asking for trouble.
It's bonkers, Mitch. It's bonkers after Huddersfield. You'd think he'd learned his lesson.
I thought what he was doing, because I saw Connolly and I thought, right, he's taking Bowler off and he's going to put Connolly on the right to sort of play a defensive right midfield and sort of double up on that flank. Because, Bowler's great at getting out, but he's not going to be the ideal man backs against the wall. But then when I saw Gretterson as well, I thought, no, because then you've lost anybody. Nobody in that team can run with the ball then. So you haven't really got that sort of break into the corner that Bowler or Keshi gives you. And secondly, you go into a 5 and throwing on a player to go and play in the back 5 and moving everybody around. It's insane, yeah.
Tim, it's mind-boggling that he's done that again.
I think most people, and again, it's not the benefit of hindsight. This, where I was, we were all saying exactly the same thing. This is just going to invite pressure. We knew there's going to be. We didn't exactly know how long at that point, but we knew there was going to be a reasonable amount of stoppage time because of the amount of time that the physios had spent on with their players. So we knew there was 6 or 7, 8 minutes to go, whatever it might have been, and it just seemed madness. I could sort of understand the Bowler one.
Bowler for CJ, someone's just said. That's a fair shout, isn't it? Bowler for CJ. It gives you the outlet, doesn't it?
And we're completely changing, as Mitch has said, we're completely changing the shape of the team to try and protect what we have. But what we do by doing that, for me, is completely lose any cohesion that we had available to us. And whilst Keshi wasn't having a great game in the last third, he is a great player for holding the ball and playing the sensible pass at that point in the game.
He's good at shit. He's good at corner flag shithousery as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's a case you need to keep in that scenario. You need to keep possession, and that's the best way of defending a 1-0 lead is with possession, not by booting the ball up the other end and letting them come back at you. And for me, it was a huge mistake by Critchley, and one that could have massively cost us. Never mind a draw. We could have lost that game with those subs.
I don't know why we keep dropping so deep as well. If we were any deeper, we'd be in the bloody Travel Lodge or the bloody Armfield Club. It's ridiculous. I don't know why we keep doing it. You're just inviting the pressure on. And like you say, they didn't really create anything throughout that second half of any clear-cut chances.
Until after the 89th minute.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're just inviting all that pressure on. You've got a bunch of players that have just come on. Like Tim says, you've got to change your shape, and players are still going, right, you go over there, you drop back there, and no. I
think it injects just a negative mindset throughout the team by introducing those substitutions and the change of the system. I just can't for the life of me think why he's done it again. Just stick with the same formation. All right, change your personnel, but
like Mitch says, just make one of them changes. Maybe switch to a 4-5-1 with a flat 5 midfield and pat the midfield out a bit.
Yeah,
try and get the ball further down the pitch.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Josh Bowler. Yeah, well, it's just it could have been so different though, couldn't it? We could have been,
and it would have been if it wasn't for one man.
Which nicely segues on. Beaverbrook's man of the match was announced on 90 minutes, which was Josh Bowler, which is that's debatable. We'll come to that.
He had a decent game, to be fair.
Yeah, he did, yeah. But I think if they've announced the man of the match after the game, which I think they really should do now after this game, was because of 2 moments of absolute magic. Tim from Dan Grimshaw, he's absolutely saved Critchley's bacon there, hasn't he? Exceptional draw saves.
Exceptional. With this, there's nothing else you could say, and I think the fact that the North Stand just erupted into a chant of Danny Grimshaw at the end sort of epitomised how important that double save that he made, the one after the other, was for our season. never mind the game, because I would be generally a little concerned if we'd lost again today. To lose. We were bottom of the form table before we went into this game anyway. And
they were one of the poorest teams that we've seen at Bloomfield Road as well.
Yeah, and we should have put the game to bed. 60, 70 minute time, whereas when we had a number of chances to get through, and our poor decision making cost us. And you can't, but you can't blame the management for that. What you can, but we invited pressure, and we've ended up relying on Grimshaw, who I think is starting to show. I think I said when he first signed for us, my Man City supporting mate says he was really highly rated at City, and he was part of the sort of Foden team that was sort of all conquering, and he's starting to show now. And I know we spoke before about Maxwell and Maxwell's kicking. I think Grimshaw's more accurate than Maxwell. He just doesn't quite get the same length on it. But I think he's an exceptional keeper, and it's been said in the chat, and I actually think he's now first choice.
I would agree.
Mitch, let's just come to you and address this comment from David Coleman. Yates almost did a dimmy and that cost us the game. It was a carbon copy of Mitchell. What was he thinking?
Well, it was that period at the end, obviously the two saves. I just really quickly want to do the save because I was right in front of me. The first one was astonishing. It was one of those where you visualised the ball hitting the back of the net, gone into grief for the fact the opposition scored, and then he clawed it out. It was like somebody said it was the best save they'd ever seen a pool keeper make, and I think probably the only one that I can think of that comes up to it was Maxwell made an absolutely astonishing save quite early on in his career against Ipswich. That was astonishing. It was in the season with Larry. It was the only one I could think of, certainly of recent times, that got close to it. But yeah, the Dimmy thing. There was about 5 or 6 balls had gone across the box, and to be fair to Husband, he was like a one-man defence in that period. He was getting his head on stuff, and he made a superb. I mean, his ball to Demi the other week could be questioned, or the other day could be questioned, but he made a superb defensive header, and he headed it away, and he shaped it perfectly. And I thought, right, this is it. Yates picked it up, and he just did exactly the same thing. And I don't know if this is the flip side of having Yates and Lavery sort of almost competing for that shirt with, whoever doesn't score gets dropped, that he picked it up. And I think maybe he saw ka-ching, brilliant, I'll beat this man, I'll run down the end of the pitch, I'll score, and then I'll be back in the team next week. And he was just, as soon as he went to do it, he said, no. And bloody hell. And yeah, and then it put Husband back in exactly the same position where that guy had cut in, and Husband was sort of and the cross came over, and that was the first Grimshaw save, wasn't it?
I think there was 10,000 people collectively sucking in and holding the breath as that ball came into the box.
Yeah. And again, maybe it's a positional thing. Sorry, Joe, go on.
No, I was just going to say the first one, I thought it was in. I was like, why is their lad not celebrating? Because it literally looked like all we had to do was tap it in. I've no idea how he saved it. I think that the only save I can compare it to is probably either Maxwell's away at Sunderland in the dying minutes. That was another late one. Or going way, way, way back. Joe Hart's away at Cheltenham. Don't know if any of you were at that game, but I'm really struggling to work out how he saved it. I've watched it from the reverse angle as well, and it looks like it's like he's plucked it from just going from behind the line. The second one was just as good as well.
We're all forgetting about Richard Kingston at the Stadium of Light, of course.
That was just voodoo magic in action, though, Tim.
It was voodoo magic, but most certainly.
Yeah, he did the old Schmeichel star jump, didn't he, to save that one at the end?
They just hitting him by some weird trust of fate.
I'm going to make a mad.
It wasn't one; it was 2 saves. But when the final whistle went, there was a huge sigh of relief across the ground, and I think as Joe's said several times, thank God we've got the 3 points. I think that's all that matters. But all right, we may have possibly deserved a draw today, but we've certainly deserved 4 points from our 2 previous games. So I think
arguably that we've played. That's the worst performance of the 3.
Played. Yeah, I'd say so.
But I think sometimes your yin and the yang marry up a little bit, don't they? Where we probably have been very, very unfortunate not to get points in the other 2. Here we've another day we'd have got a point if we were lucky, and I think it's probably balanced out. Not quite right, because I think we deserve more than 3 points out of 9 over the Christmas period, but I think we all feel a hell of a lot better than we would do if it'd been 0 out of 9.
Yeah, 100% in 2022 anyway. So let's have that. Right, okay. Let's move on to the.
Madine scored in every day this year.
Yeah.
It's like a Madine wonderland, isn't it?
Well, points per game for Jimmy Husband at left back 2022 is 3. So it's perfect. Everything, all the stars are aligned.
Okay, match day ratings. So, who's going to get Grimshaw? Who wants him?
I don't say I want him.
He's got to give one answer.
I just wanted to make a really sort of outrageous comparison with Grimshaw. The best keeper I have ever seen in my life was Neville Southall, who was just an outrageously good goalkeeper. He was ridiculous. Oh, I think I broke up then, didn't I? He was outrageously good keeper. He was ridiculous. And there's something about Grimshaw, the way he's just so downbeat and scruffy and just sort of does what he needs to do, that reminds me of Southall, which is an absolutely outrageous comparison, but there's something about him. He just does what needs to be done. He gets himself there. He throws it, and he does it with no fuss at all. And Southall was like that. He never sort of clowned. He just was in the right place. He was just worked the angles. He was unbelievable goalkeeper. And there's something in Grimshaw where I think this guy's really quite special, or could be really quite special. He'll throw 3 in the back of the net next, but
there he is on the pick with his Sean Sweet hairstyle that you were going on about the other week.
Well, I accuse Sean of having a Richard Keogh sweet hairstyle.
I think Richard Hensel's called it. I think we need to use my my scoring system to its absolute maximum today. And I think
you rate.
I'm gonna go with Richard. I'm gonna say it's a 10+, because that. I mean, when you look at he pulled off 2 superb saves in the first half. And then we've got the double save at the end. I think he's just given the best performance you could expect from a keeper. It's a match-winning performance, and yeah, if that man of the match award had been given out 5 minutes later, there'd only been one winner. And for the whole of the North, immediately on the end of the whistle to start singing his name and continue singing his name for the next 2 or 3 minutes it is a testament to how important his performance was today. It's as good as you're going to get. 10+. The first 10+ of the season.
Have we ever had a 10+?
No, never. It's unique.
+10 Dan Grimshaw, and as Marcus Mackay's just said, plus because he's not a knobber. Funny. No else
I like that he looks like a pilgrim father comment from David.
The Amish. That was the sort as well.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Just need some of them hats on.
He's have to build a library for the community after this. Won't drop the hammer, that's for sure. Right, Mitch, Dujon Sterling.
Yeah, Dujon, he did well defensively. I thought their left winger was actually quite good. I thought he was pretty committed, tracked well defensively. He broke up play quite well a few times, and yeah, I thought he had a decent-ish game. 8 would seem fair.
Big Marv, Joe.
I'm going to go with 8. I thought he had a good game. He's kept another clean sheet. Yeah, I thought, apart from obviously the last 5 minutes, didn't really have much to do.
I don't think it was his fault either. The last nervous 5 minutes. That's the coach's fault. Tricky Dicky Tim.
I think we're starting to see Keogh get back to the way he was playing before he got injured. I think I struggle to think of anything he did wrong today at all. I think, and we're a lot better team when him and Pateta are playing together. For me, I just think they are. They have almost an element of telepathy between them. So I'm actually. I think it's I nearly went 9, but I want to go 8+. I think it was a very, very good performance by Richard.
Jimmy husband Mitch, you have admitted yourself, not his usual high standards today.
Yeah, he was quite wasteful with the ball. He had a couple of really clumsy touches with the ball, which was a pity. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember him really putting us in trouble defensively. And I thought he was excellent in those last sort of 4 or 5 minutes, where you can see the advantage of having him at left back was he made, I think, 3 headed clearances in that last sort of injury time burst. There's no way that Reece James would have made, because he's, husband's a good, 4 inches taller than James. So yeah, I'll probably agree with Richard's thing there is 8-. I mean, somebody says he's a liability, but I don't really remember him playing us into trouble. But feel free to
maybe a liability
so
in that.
Probably 7+. Actually, I'd go 7+.
Yeah, in that
Sorry,
weird. That's that weird period he had when he was getting sent off left, right, and centre. It was a liability then, but I think
it was his forward. It's his forward play, I think, that's deteriorated over the last few games. Not necessarily his defensive duties.
I think it'll be interesting if we go when Luke Garbutt's back. If we're still playing this 4-4-2, who's going to get the nod there? It'll be an interesting competition anyway. Okay, Ryan Winsall, Joe.
8. I thought it was good to see him back. I thought he had a good game, especially when you consider that he's been out for a while. I don't know whether he was injured or it was COVID or whatever, but yeah, thought he slotted in nicely, kept things ticking over in the centre of midfield, and not to have a go at Connolly, who I thought was very good the other night against Middlesbrough. I think it was very much needed to get him back in the middle of the park with Dougal. So yeah, I'm going to give him an 8.
Kenny Dougal, Tim. Now, this would have been my overwhelming man of the match award. I think he was absolutely brilliant today, Dougal. Bar one misplaced pass when we broke away. I thought it was superb. But what did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I remember that pass in question, and it stood out because it was probably, like you say, the probably only misplaced pass he made all day. I think he's an integral part of the team. I've always been a great fan of his. He's often a little bit unsung because he does the dirty work, and he's going back. We used to hear about the water carrier, didn't you? And he's our water carrier. He's the player who links the defense and the attack, and he does it extremely well. I'm gonna go 9. I think he deserves it today. I thought he was superb.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Where we are with Keshi Anderson, Mitch had better games.
He did everything but finish. Yeah, he did everything but finish, though, to be fair to him. I thought he tackled and passed and ran around pretty well. But he missed probably 3 decent chances. Certainly there was one where Madine put him through and he just shot straight at the keeper. There was one at the other end that I think I can't remember if he headed or ballooned it wide. And then there was that weird one with Bowler where somebody had a shot and then I think Keshi ended up deflecting it over the top. It might have been offside anyway, but it just seemed to be the way his day was going. I mean, do you penalise a player for not scoring but having a go? I don't know. If Wintle's an 8, I don't I don't know if Keshi was worse than Wintle, and he shot. So I'm gonna actually stick up for him and say I'm going to give him an 8 because he got in those positions, he took the shots, he took it on, and you shouldn't be slating a player for because he had to go. Wintle passed it around, kept it nice, but he didn't really threaten the goal. So I'm going to go for 8 for Keshi.
You go there, girlfriend.
Okay, that's on behalf of Sean as well, because
Josh Bowler, Joe.
8+. I thought he had a very good game. Obviously, won as the penalty. There's still not the greatest of crosses, but he puts the fear of God into defenders, and that's what you need: players running at defenders, getting him all confused
Flustered.
and fear of God up him. I liked it. He's really picked up his act over the past few games, and
Yes.
long may it continue, and bugger off Nottingham Forest.
We need it to be Christmas every day for Josh, don't we? Because he seems to up his game over the Christmas period. So let's keep the tinsel up, everybody, and keep pretending it's Christmas.
Like the Truman Show. What day is it, Neil? It's December the 24th.
It's Christmas.
Again. Oh, wow.
In the paper, there's a guy called Mr. Christmas. It's an actual man, and he celebrates every day as if it's Christmas. Every day of the year.
Every
Christmas,
credit.
Christmas
Don't
dinner
blame
every
near
day.
schools.
gives himself presents every day. He's single. Funny that.
Has he bought himself a self-heating mug yet? That regulates his own temperature, because that's a Christmas necessity.
Maybe I should write to him and say, "Have you got one of these, Mr. Christmas?"
Are you still looking for pod sponsorship, John? Because I think you've probably got your ideal company there.
Yeah.
Ember,
we could all have a self-heating mug on the side.
We could all be drinking it and go, "Oh, isn't this a nice warm brew?"
A bit of product placement.
Oh, Tim, what temperature is your drink currently at?
It's fantastic. Well, listen, if the price of football can do it, we can.
They had things that shave your nuts.
They do.
That was their sponsorship.
Tim will be drinking warm gin and tonic.
Exactly. I'm quite happy to drink warm gin and tonic if it helps the pod. Just, I think there's something to be followed up there, John.
Just don't get them two products mixed up. You could have a very bad time.
Yeah. Where were we?
Shane Lavery.
Shane Lavery. Who are we on? Tim.
I think it's me. I think a little bit of a mixed bag for Shane today. I think he worked hard. I don't think he's quite got the same sort of link that Yates has with Madine. I think Yates might have got slightly better return out of particularly Madine's first half performance and how influential he was. But he puts himself about a bit. He was a bit unfortunate when he got pulled back when he was clear through on goal. So I think it was an industrious rather than an electrifying performance. But I think it's an 8. I think it was a competent performance. Maybe I might have been a bit generous, but it's Christmas or New Year anyway, so I'm feeling particularly.
Well, if you miss the Christmas, it's Christmas every day.
It is. You'd be giving 10 out of 10 every day, wouldn't you?
10, yeah.
No, am I being generous with 8? No, I don't think I am. I think he did his bit. I think another day he would have he'd have got a goal, but I do like him. I like his feistiness. I like the fact that he's, as a defender, you're going to hate playing against him. I do actually though think Yates would have been more productive today with Madine at his best.
I tell you what, he does have over Yates is he actually won some flick-ons, and he's got a bit of presence in the air. Where that's where Yates struggles. I love Jerry to bits, but he does struggle actually winning anything in the air. I would be, his record in the air is poor.
Okay, and to wrap this up, Gary Madine. Is this rolled out at you, Mitch? I think it has, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. That's fantastic.
What a coincidence.
Well, thank you, John. He's a goal machine. No, I thought he was superb for 45 minutes. He certainly wasn't poor for the second 45 minutes, but he didn't maintain that level. Oh, there was a comment above from Oliver, I think it was, about where did I get my background? Well, I nicked it off the Sky Sports report online. So if you do want that picture, if you just look up the Sky report of the game, it's the picture on there. So there's no great mystery to that. But yeah, I thought he was. I've already said what I've got to say about him in the first half. Second half, he's still winning stuff, but he struggled a little bit, and his lack of pace was exposed in a chance at the end. But yeah, I think he's got to be worth a 9+. I thought he was sensational first half.
Signed him on a free. Stephen C said we certainly did. Okay,
Shove that up your ass, Scott Kidd Ellis.
Does he not like him?
Hates him. He texts me. He texts me midway through the pod, saying, "No, that Gary Madine's still garbage." Wink.
Okay, man of the match. I think this is going to be a clean sweep, isn't it? Let's go from left to right. So, Dan Grimshaw for me. Mitch.
Yeah, it'd be Grimshaw. If it wasn't Grimshaw, before those saves, they would have actually gone for Madine, but it was Grimshaw. They were two sensational. In fact, he was three because he made the one to his left, the one to his right, and then a cross came in and he threw himself out and sort of palmed it out, and then the ref blew up for a foul. But so I think it was almost like three saves. It was like a one-man defence at one point.
Let's do a man of the match without Grimshaw, and let's do Grimshaw's obviously the winner. For me, it'd be Dougal. Mitch's was for Madine. Joe, man of the match.
I'm gonna go with Josh Bowler.
Is that your ultimate man of the match? Is that
No,
assuming
that's
you're not doing Grimshaw?
That's
fair enough. Fair enough.
Sorry.
Okay, Tim.
It's an interesting one because I think there's putting Danny aside. I think that there's three others who are worthy contenders, and I think we've mentioned them. We've mentioned Bowler, we've mentioned Madine, we've mentioned Dougal. I think I'm edging towards Dougal. I thought he's so important to us at the moment. But Grimshaw, he should enjoy. I hope they've got a little bit of downtime tomorrow, and I'll lose my track of days now. Is it what day we're on? Saturday, aren't we? It was Saturday, so hopefully a Sunday. They have a Sunday and Monday off at least, if not another day. And it's well earned because I think he's won us 3 points today, so exceptional.
Okay, just close the show off. Manager rating, Mitch.
Again, I mean, he didn't have a lot to play with, did he? We still got lots of players out, so I think starting lineup wise, fine. We played pretty well, but he's got to lose some marks for the substitution. So I'll go with an 8 for him because I think those substitutions were poor. Maybe Richard said 7. I might even agree with that. I'll go 7+.
Generous.
7+. 7+. We won.
FPR
I mean, come on. We
FPR
won. We played well.
No, right,
we played well for 89 minutes of the game, and then he made a stupid set of subs, and I think he would have been fuming with himself if that had gone wrong, but he's got away with it. But he's had such bad luck, so
I'm going to go 8- for all the reasons that Mitch just said.
Tim.
I think I've got to go a bit lower. I'm going to go 6+. And the reason is I just think, he's made the same mistake twice. He's lucky to get away with it. Very lucky to get away with it.
I think I have to agree with Tim. What's that? The Huddersfield thing. I thought he would have learned for that, and he hasn't. But I think we have got away with it. But a win's a win. So
that Scottish assistant put now. Somebody needs to do some trawling on the internet and find out who's available because we do need someone to say, "Don't do that." And I don't think Garrity, to be fair to him, is the man to do it. And I think Calderwood would have done, and I think that McCall would have done as well. I think that they both said 2's too many. One, yes, not 2.
Don't do that. Always, from an aggressive Scottish person, carries a lot more weight than a middle-class man from
because you think they're going
to
give you a nut job, don't they? Next, that'll be your next. If you don't listen to them, you're actually going to get the Kirby kiss or the Glasgow kiss, whatever you want to call it.
I don't think Calder would have had to say anything, would he? He'd have gone and told him to warm up. Calder would have just looked at him and then he'd have told him to sit down again. And, you know.
Or he might have just pushed Critchley out of the way and said, "I'll deal with this. You go back to your coaching. I'll do the subs."
And Steve's saying we're harsh, but the reality is, you know, the starting team, I think we all agree, was the right team and it performed well. But if we'd have dropped points today, we'd have been gutted. And he'd have been gutted, to be fair, as well. You know, he's very lucky man tonight, and he should be giving a late Christmas bonus to his goalkeeper.
Well, I actually think these subs were actually in the Huddersfield game. I kind of can understand that his hands were tied. We didn't really have a midfielder on the bench. It was quite difficult to imagine keeping the shape with the personnel we had. But here we did clearly have other options, if that makes sense, which almost makes these ones worse for me. And also against Huddersfield, we were down to 10 men as well, and it almost makes it worse for me, these subs, because we had a much wider choice. But hey, we got away with it. And
or you don't make a sub in the first place.
Yeah.
We're trying to mend something that isn't necessarily broken. And, you know, Darren's having a go saying we won at 6+. But 6+ isn't a bad score, but it's an average one. And it's because one part of his decision-making was superb, but one part was exceptionally poor. And I think you've got to say, you know, we're quick enough to give him 9s and 10s when he's pulled the rabbit out of the hat. And I think we've just got to be realistic.
As ever, keeping it real on the Seasiders podcast on a Saturday evening. Right, I think we'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for the panel for joining us. Thanks for everyone on the stream for your comments. It's made the show a lot more enjoyable and insightful. And please do like and subscribe to this channel if you are watching on YouTube. We've also got a Patreon program, patreon.com/SeasidersPod. If you want to chip in a few quid per month, and it helps pay for all our production costs, etc. Right, so we're going to be coming back, maybe a preview show on the Hartlepool game on Saturday. I haven't spoken to the lads yet, but hopefully we will. But other than that, we'll be coming back after the Hartlepool game. Well, as we said, thanks for watching, thanks for downloading, and up the pool.
Up the pool. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.